Nashville. How was that? Talk about that experience, like being on that TV show.
It was an amazing experience. I was in the last season of the show, season 6. I wish they did another season. Every episode, you also put out an EP with that episode. And I got to work in a bunch of different music studios, famous music studios in Nashville as a part of that process too. So that was such a thrill, and it was so exciting to be making art like that on the reg.
So let's talk about the Joni Mitchell show.
23 shows in 25 days. Edinburgh is beautiful, and every year this massive Edinburgh Fringe Festival happens. It's big shoes to fill, so I made sure that I worked my ass off to fill them, you know. I have high standards for myself.
Yeah.
So, especially Joni Mitchell. Like, come on, you're not going to do like a not good Joni Mitchell.
One other thing that I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
Got to ask you about the panties.
Before
There's anybody,
context.
But yes, before anybody cancels me, let me explain. This is They're Good at That Shit, where I talk to musicians who are killing the game, get their advice, their tips, their best practices, what it is they're doing really well. My guest today, she has been on TV shows like Nashville. She hosts a singer-songwriter showcase called Soft Spot. She also does a songwriter accountability group, also a really dope Joni Mitchell show that I've had the pleasure of singing. It's amazing. Rainee Blake.
What's up, guys? How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being here. How you doing?
Of course, I'm good.
All right. So let's dive into it. Nashville. How was that? Talk about that experience, like being on that TV show.
Well, in 2017, I moved to LA, and I moved here because I was really interested in pursuing music and acting, and I've always been that way since I was a kid. And after about 9 months of being here, I booked the show, actually through my Joni Mitchell show.
Really?
I did, like, the manager that I had at the time helped me put together like a house concert of my Joni Mitchell show, and then there was a casting director there who works for Lionsgate, and that's how I got in the room to do the audition for Nashville. And it was an amazing experience. I was in the last season of the show, season 6. I wish they did another season because that would have been nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did 11 episodes, and it was so cool because one of the coolest things about the project as a multidisciplinary artist is that every episode you also put out an EP with that episode. Like, it was a combination of different characters on the show, songs that appeared on that particular episode. So that was such a thrill, and it was so exciting to be making art like that on the reg. I loved it. Nashville's a cool city. Yeah, it was a great experience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What was like probably like the best part, or like what's your like biggest like takeaway when you look back at it now?
I don't know. I think I learnt the value of hard work, I guess. I think this was an experience that I had recently in the Edinburgh Fringe, which I just did, which is like you have to show up every day and do a show no matter how you're feeling. And it was like that on the show too. And obviously you want to be there anyway. It's not like you're like, oh God, I don't want to go to work today. But there's something to be said for that. It's just the showing up and doing the work, which I think for artists, that's all we ever really want to do. So I loved it. Yeah.
Awesome. And how was it just like interacting with the cast and the crew and things like that?
Good. Great experience, great cast, great crew, great music team, everybody. And I got to work in a bunch of different music studios, famous music studios in Nashville as a part of that process too. So it was fun to see behind the scenes and working with the music supervisor. And it was great. Wonderful group of people, great city, like I said. Yeah. No complaints.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You said that came about because of the Joni Mitchell show. So you were doing the Joni Mitchell show somewhere, and then somebody happened to see it, and that's kind of what happened?
Yeah, basically the manager I had at the time helped me put on this showcase, and there were quite a few industry people there that night. So it was like an intentional ploy, but then they didn't know that the part in the show would come along, so that happened a few months later.
Wow.
Is that they ended up calling and asking me to come in and read for the part.
Nice. Very cool. So let's talk about the Joni Mitchell show. How did that how did that kind of come about? That idea, like how did it happen?
Well, when I was about 14, I'd already been in singing lessons for 2 years. Thank you, my parents. Shout out. And I already loved music, and I would sing Carole King, like walking home from school. I've always loved the 60s and 70s music from that era. Mm-hmm. And my dad came into my room one day and he said, "Rainee, I think you're ready for this." And he handed me Court and Spark, Joni Mitchell album from 1974. And that kind of just, I was hooked from then, and then begged him to get me all the other records and CDs. And then a few years, I was already learning her songs in my teens. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to my early 20s, and I'd had a few like acting jobs and a few music opportunities, but nothing that was really sticking yet. And again, a conversation with my dad, and he was like, "Why don't you do a Joni Mitchell show?" Wow. And I was like, okay. And then I kind of built it from there, and like read every book I could, read every biography, watched every YouTube video possible, just anything I could get my hands on, these old like bootleg recordings, live recordings of her and interviews and stuff. Wow. And kind of dove into her work in a really serious way. In my early 20s, and then I started touring my show around Australia at that point. I love it. I did it because I wanted something that would showcase all my talents. Yeah. but yeah, and it's been such a great tool for that, obviously, like I shared. And now I took a break for about 4 or 5 years from doing the show, and then just last year revived it and did a bunch of shows at the Hollywood Fringe and won some awards, one of which brought me to Edinburgh just I was just there a month ago. Mm-hmm. And so that's been amazing where it's led me, and building fans from that place has also been really rewarding. Yeah. So, I mean, in a sense, you were kind of preparing for it your entire life. Basically. But from the point you decided, like, okay, I'm going to do this, to the time you did the first one, about how long would you say that was? 6 months of intense prep before the first show. And I worked with a wonderful playwright who worked with me kind of as a dramaturg. Her name is Joanna Weinberg, and she helped me in those initial stages with figuring out the pacing and the kinds of theme, like just bulking out the themes of the show and what mattered and what I wanted to focus on, because of course there's so many things that you could focus on. There's so many amazing songs, like you could go in a million directions, but for me it was, I wanted to talk about freedom and love and the conflict between those two things in her life and in her artistry, and then the sacrifices that she made for her art, which is like a theme that runs through her whole life and through everything that I'd read. And it has to do with her giving up her baby for adoption when she was 20, and how that shaped the woman that she was and the artist that she was. So those themes interested me most, and so I tried to choose songs that would tell that story. The most autobiographical songs. Again, I love all the songs, so it's so hard to pick. But that was the lens that I came at it from. Nice. And I had the opportunity to see it. You did. And that was nice. It was incredible. Like, I was very impressed, like, not even like bullshitting you. Like, I was like very impressed. You really, like, it was like I saw and heard her. Like, I didn't see Rainee, you know what I mean? Like, that's the idea. Yeah. No, so, and it was super cool. So I just want to say, like, great job on that. Thank you. Yeah. It's big shoes to fill. So I made sure that I worked my ass off to fill them, I have high standards for myself. Yeah. So, especially Joni Mitchell. Like, come on, you're not going to do like a not good Joni Mitchell. No one's going to be like, what the fuck? Right. And from an artist perspective, I want to talk about a conversation we had after I came to see that show. And, you were saying like, especially in some, because where I saw it, it was like out in Ventura County, I think somewhere. And, in these, Arts. Yeah, like in these towns like that, a lot of times you have like, a lot of older people who
are, and a lot of times they have money and they're looking to like go see something like that and like kind of relive, you know, like their childhood or their, you know what I mean? Like some of their icons and things like that. So I think that was a really dope idea. And I remember like you saying to me like, yeah, maybe you should do like, you know, Ray Charles or Stevie, which by the way, like you mentioned should. Like, you know, 70s music, stuff like that. I love Ray Charles, love Stevie Wonder.
You would kill that.
You know, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I think I have to like, I'm actually in the process of like stepping up my piano skills. Like I've been taking like lessons because I feel like it's like you said.
Yeah, you got to be able to shred.
Yeah, you can't be whack on the keys and and say you're Ray Charles or Stevie. Like you just can't. You know what I mean?
But
like,
that's the thing that's one of the gifts of working on a show like that is that your artistry like goes to the next level because you're absorbing all of this genius from these masterful people. It's like a gift to yourself as much as it is a gift for other people. Like you're gonna just feel yourself go boom, 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 like jump up all these layers. So go for it, I say. Yeah, even just for yourself. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just for that.
No, that's a bar right there because like, yeah, like studying the greats, like you said, you're absorbing all that. So I imagine by diving into Joni Mitchell like that, studying, you know, the bios and the interviews and the music and all of that, like you can't help but absorb and learn a ton.
Yeah, musically, spiritually, everything. It's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, definitely I feel like it's a good exercise for anybody out there, anybody watching this, like to, you know, dive into, you know, the legends, and because, you know, we can learn a lot from them.
Even just learning repertoire like is a really great way to do that. You know, finding the songs that you love and learning them and figuring out why you love them. And then you become a better songwriter, you become a better singer, you become a better guitar player, whatever it is. Like, it's so important. It's your whole musical education.
Yeah. And then like, yeah, from studying like the riffs that they do, things like that, like, you know, like somebody like Ray Charles, you know, just like a master piano player. Yeah. You know, so then it's like you want to be better at the keys, like study the things that he was doing on the keys, you know. So yeah, definitely.
Well, we're gonna wait. We're gonna be waiting for this show to come out. What are you gonna call it?
Oh wait! Oh wow! You're like really putting me on the spot there. That I will have to really like give some thought to that because again, it's like you don't want to half-ass something 2025.
Like that. Okay. Fall 2025.
Okay. All right. Now it's like on video too.
Now so it's have to do it.
Like this is like accountability for sure. Speaking of accountability.
Oh, nice segue.
Yeah, you like that, right? You have a songwriter accountability group. Yeah. And it's cool because like I host Writers Round LA and I hear people all the time when they're performing the songs that they're, you know, playing at Writers Round. They say, "Oh, I wrote this song, you know, through Rainee Blake's accountability group." Oh, and so, nice. You know, I hear that all the time.
Free publicity. I love it.
Yeah. So it's cool. Like, how did that start?
It's not an original idea, you know. I don't claim to that. I was in a group of a similar style from an Australian artist, and I was like, this is great. I'm getting so much out of this. And then I was craving more of that. It was kind of in the COVID time, and I was like, gosh, I really want to create something for myself to like be churning out songs regularly. And I just emailed a bunch of my friends and so if they were interested. And now we've probably done about 10 of them. So that was 2021, I think, is when I did the first one. It was all online. And then now we have like a co-write group as well, which is an in-person iteration of the group, which goes 10 weeks. And you write a song a week for 10 weeks. But the in-person one's really great because I think coming out of COVID, people wanted to like be with people and, you know, have human connection. And so we built in that element. You get paired up with 5 different songwriters. There's 2 different feedback sessions you get to be a part of. We just had ours yesterday. There's a group going on right now.
Nice.
And so it's like peer feedback, and then there's a guest industry Q&A, and then there's a writer's round at the end where you have to perform songs that you've written over the 10 weeks. Nice. So and again, I did it because I wanted to do it myself. I was like, I want to write more songs with my friends. And I knew, from my experience hanging out with other songwriters that was a need that other people had too. And I've always been that way. I've always been like, oh, if something doesn't exist, I'll just make it. And that's what I did. And I love it. And the group is so wonderful. I love that people are talking about it. It makes 100%. Me so happy that so much art is being made, and I've played a small part in helping to facilitate that, So it's such a joy, and I really love doing it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that you said if something doesn't exist, just make it.
Yeah.
That's definitely a attitude that I try to, adopt as well. And I think it's just a good kind of mantra for anybody to have, honestly.
Not everybody has that,
they don't.
Entrepreneurial spirit.
Sure.
But that's why it takes people like us to make shit happen, and then, make the world a better place.
Absolutely. If somebody wants to get involved in the songwriter accountability group at the co-write group, how would they go about doing that?
Our next round, I don't know when this episode's going to come out.
Probably January.
Perfect. Yeah. Our next round will kick off in early February.
Okay.
So in a month or so, I'll be putting up the new sign-up form, and you can access that through the Soft Spot Songwriters Instagram page. And then you just submit your music. Anybody can join the online accountability group, but the co-write group, which is LA-based, we do look at submissions, and you have to be at least a committed songwriter. It caters to a lot of levels, but it's still, you can't just be like, have never written a song before. We won't. Right. It has to be something to stand on.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right. Cool. You mentioned earlier that you just got back from Europe. Yeah. Talk about that trip.
Yeah, that was amazing. 23 shows in 25 days.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
No, that is a lot.
It's a lot. It was basically every day. And I was doing my Joni Mitchell show. It was all at the same venue, which was really nice. Yeah. And Edinburgh is beautiful. And every year this massive Edinburgh Fringe Festival happens. And it's kind of, you might have heard of it. Did you see Baby Reindeer? It's kind of had a slight more of a resurgence because it was talked about in that show.
Okay.
And the guy who wrote that show, it came out of him doing a one-man show at Edinburgh. Anyway, it's a massive festival, 4,000 shows going on concurrently, crazy city, packed people, amazing. And I got to do my show every day, and it was not always easy. I think I kind of touched on that before. It's sort of, you don't always feel like doing it, genuinely, or maybe there's something going on emotionally, or I'm feeling kind of emotionally avoidant, and I don't want to feel those feelings that are required of the show. And that was really hard some days, I had to pull from something deep inside of me to go, okay, I'm going to put on my dress, I'm going to walk over there to the theater, with my headphones on and do the show. And meeting people after the show who were so deeply touched. Oh, it's going to make me cry. So deeply touched by the show. It always helped me remember, why am I doing this? Just to see the impact I was having was a really helpful way to keep going. And then the things that I learned along the way through that process, which is, anyone who's done Broadway or theatre, I guess, would have had this experience, but it had been a long time since I'd done theatre in this way. And just finding tools that work, and not all tools are going to work every day. And so definitely having my headphones with certain tracks I would listen to, or certain interviews that would help me, or making sure I had a strong, exercising habit, doing yoga or going for walks, and just gauging day to day, what's present for me today, what do I need to navigate with what is inside of me right now. I think sometimes self-care becomes prescriptive from a distance. So you're like, I'm going to do this, this, and this every single day, when in reality, every day is different.
Right.
And if you can be, hitting certain aspects of your self-care, like if you think about these different elements, like social, spiritual, mental, physical, those are I'm just going to go with those. You know, you might need different things on different days, but if you're tending to those different aspects of what you might need day to day, then that's maybe a better way of thinking about it than it is to say, just sort of masculine, like, I'm going to do this, and this, you know, otherwise I'm a piece of shit, and like, I didn't achieve anything, whatever.
Right.
I'm going on a tangent now.
That's all good.
But I'm interested in this because I think about this a lot. Like, how do you care for yourself as an artist? And I know that's maybe not what you talk about here, but that's what I talk about a lot.
That's fine. Yeah. So what goes into that for you? Like taking care of yourself and.
So here's my current, like, philosophizing thought process on it.
Okay.
As an artist, right? In order to have a sustainable life as an artist, what do you think? What would be your guess? Would make. Okay, I'm just gonna say it.
No, what do you mean? No, I'm just trying to understand what
okay, I'm gonna say it. You can tell me what you think.
Okay.
So I imagine a pie chart, and the pie chart consists of. I'm still working on these phrases, but you've got self-care or internal, and you've got external, hustle, and then you have craft.
Okay.
So those are your three things that you want to be tending to.
Yes.
Right? So you've got like self-care, so like what I was mentioning, you know, taking care of yourself, and that could mean solo or it could mean social. Like, are you getting connection that is meaningful to you? Are you going hiking? Whatever it is. Are you journaling? Whatever it is the thing that helps you to feel more secure. And then you have the hustle, which is like, are you actually going out and being seen as an artist? Are you sending the email to whoever? You know, are you playing the gigs? Are you posting on social media? And then craft, which is arguably the most important thing, but like, are you actually fucking playing?
Yes.
Are you playing music for fun?
Yeah.
Are you remembering why you started, you know, art making in the first place? You know, circa 7 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
So singing, playing for fun, working on building your skills, studying other artists, whatever that might be. Obviously writing songs, working on your songwriting. So that to me, there's my pie chart explanation.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think about that?
No, I think that's cool. What would you say would be like the percentages of each? Have you like assigned
well, I think it probably fluctuates.
Okay.
I think they're in thirds.
Okay.
3, 3, 3. But I think that it would fluctuate day to day. I think if you're thinking about designing your week, which is something I've been doing lately, like on a Sunday, well, how am I going to spend my week? And I would think about that pie chart and go, am I hitting all these three aspects?
Yes.
To make sure that I'm showing up as an artist in the way that I want to be showing up in a sustainable way, in a way I'm still moving in the direction of my dreams, but I'm tending to my inner child at the same time. Yeah. So like I try to think about that, like going to yoga. Like today, for example, I went to yoga and then I had a jam and now I'm here. And so I'm hitting all three of my, I'm hitting all three of my parts. So I'm happy.
No, that's awesome. And I think it's a good reminder too, because I know for myself personally, sometimes I can tend to neglect the self-care part for the hustle and the craft.
Yeah. We all have a weak spot.
Yes. Yeah. And for me, it's definitely the self-care. It's like the sleep. It's the socializing. Like I'll sacrifice those things in a second to be out at the music thing, or to be practicing, or to be writing, or to be, you know, doing something that I feel like is gonna help me advance. Yeah. So I think that's probably my struggle, I guess, you know. And then it's like sometimes it's like then I feel like there's like guilt sometimes too. Like,
oh, for sure.
If you're chilling, it's like, okay, I'm not accomplishing anything right now.
Well, that's just the patriarchy. That's just the conditioning, that you have to be productive. Otherwise you're not worthy of love. You're not worthy of rest. So you have to check, Like, where is that voice coming from in any given moment? Like, sometimes it's true. Like, okay, I didn't do anything all weekend. And yeah, maybe I should feel a little bad. Maybe I should go pick up my guitar or whatever. But other times it's like, no, it's okay that I relax right now. It's actually okay. And it's actually important and in service of my productivity, ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to, recharge. You have to.
Yeah, gotta.
You gotta charge your phone. So it's like you gotta.
The phone is a whole other conversation.
Yeah, well, I was just.
No, but I know.
The first thing that popped in my head, and I was like, I feel like we understand like a phone needs like you have to recharge the battery, but then I feel like sometimes with ourselves, we don't. We don't think about it the same way. At least, like I said, at least for me, like sometimes I'm just like I tend to be go.
Yeah. And I think it was like Paul Simon who said, that he always writes in front of a window because half the time he's writing, he's just looking out the window. When you think about artists, our job is to observe and reflect back what we see. And if we're not doing any of the observing and absorbing of the observing, that's a tongue twister. Yeah. Right? Then what do we actually have to say?
Huh. Interesting.
Food for thought. I'm always thinking about this kind of thing.
No, totally. I mean, you got to live life.
You got to live.
Have things to write about.
And have a point of view that actually, like, where you're saying something that's interesting and matters to you and is unique to you as well. Anyone can write a song.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Let's talk about Soft Spot, the showcase.
Let's do it.
Super cool. I've been several times.
Yeah.
Had the opportunity to play. Super cool. How did that come about?
It was kind of a similar time, maybe a little bit after I started running the groups and I had moved back to LA, and I was just, the scene was really dead at that point, like end of 2021, things were still super dead. Right. And I was just, after being in Nashville, I was craving that kind of feeling that you get from going to writers' rounds there, and it's so community driven. You run into people that you know and players that you see a lot. And so I went in, I happened to be friends with Mackenzie, who used to run Gold Diggers, and just chatted with her about the idea, and she was on board, and we kind of went from there. We worked with a great sponsor, Lo-Fi Aperitifs, shout out. We don't work with them anymore, but they were a wonderful, wonderful company to work with. And we were able to pay the artists. We were doing it once a month at that point at Gold Diggers. Nice. And I was able to pay people and pay myself and put on these really sweet curated nights. And we were there for about a year and a half, and then the funding kind of fell apart. We took a little pause and was looking for a new venue, by which point I connected with Chloe Cat, and we both were interested in cultivating a night at the Desert 5 spot. She booked me for a gig there, blah, blah, blah. It was a very kismet moment. Yeah. And Wade, who runs the Desert 5, kind of put us together, and it was such a gift because now, of course, we've been at Desert 5 spot for over a year. Nice. Every Tuesday, almost, just about. We take a break over Christmas. Yeah. And I couldn't do it without her, because running a night every week, it ain't easy.
Oh, I know.
And yeah, I know you do. So it's really nice to have help. And of course, we have Austin as well, who's our sound girl. And so we have an all-female team. And we love that. And we always have at least 50% women on every single bill, and we always pay people. And those are ethics that I stand by, and that I feel like are important in this industry. Artists are not getting paid left, right, and center, and often having to pay to play. Yeah. And of course, no shade on showcases who, they just can't afford it or whatever it might be. Right. But for me, I just knew that ethos was important, and I wanted to take a stand and be like, no, we're going to pay people and we're going to support women, and so we're doing it.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, we love it,
and it's super cool. It's a fun time.
It's a good hang, I think.
Yes, it really is a good hang. Yeah. Desert 5 is a cool spot for it.
Great spot. Great. All the staff there are wonderful. And there's all these couches. It's very 70s vibes.
Yeah,
surprise.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're really passionate about building community. And I think it's really nice. Like, you come there and you're chatting with other artists and you're making friends and you're seeing some incredible singer-songwriters. So we love it. It's just, I get to do that every Tuesday. I feel really, really grateful that that's part of my world.
Yeah, I was talking to Joel Eccles, who started Monday.
Right.
So I did a episode with him as well, and I asked him this question: as a curator, what would you say would be some maybe do's and don'ts for artists who are interested in playing soft spot?
Be good. Be
Right.
really good. We have a pretty high standard when we're looking through submissions. So, have a good voice, be trained. If not, I just take it seriously,
Sure.
vocally especially. And then other than that, we look for all kinds of styles of music. So genre doesn't matter so much. I think it's really important that you have a decent live performance video. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 10 to 15 seconds. It can be a link to a reel on your Instagram, but it should be raw audio, live, and showing your face like a reasonable close up, and make sure you have that. And then make sure you have music out. We don't book anyone unless they have at least one song out on Spotify.
Okay.
And a reasonable social media presence too. Just all things that for us we consider, okay, you're an artist and you're taking it seriously. So yeah, having a good, it's even better have like a YouTube video out of you playing live.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, we're not going to watch more than 10 seconds.
Right. Okay. Right.
We're not. Nobody does.
Yeah.
And if you send me a link to your Spotify, which is good too, I'll listen to a little bit, I'll click ahead, I'll listen to some more. If you're hitting your notes and your sound is good, most likely we're going to book you. That being said, we always book at least 50% women, and we get a lot of male submissions. So you're more likely to get booked if you're a woman, because we do put women to the front. But we still have generally our lineups are 2 female artists, 2 male artists, and then Chloe and I play. But there's just, there's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
We love men, but
Yeah.
live performance video, have a good voice, make sure your pitch is good. I don't know how many times I've gotten videos and people aren't quite hitting their notes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, girl, get some lessons.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there are other showcases or open mics that might support other artists who are still coming up. And that's just not us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, definitely, work on the craft to get, your ducks in a row and those things in order. I mean, something Joel and I were talking about is having the live video, because if you just send me a Spotify link, I don't know how auto-tuned it is.
Exactly.
I don't know, you know what I mean? And so it's it might sound great on there, but then, you
and nowadays there's no indication. You have no idea. Somebody could not be able to sing at all and put out a decent track,
Yeah.
So a live video is really important.
Yeah. For sure. Okay. One other thing that I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
Got to ask you about the panties.
Oh.
And so now I know that's a weird question.
That's very strange.
Before
There's
anybody,
context.
but yes, before anybody cancels me, let me explain. At Soft Spot. First of all, where did that name come from?
So I was trying to think of a name,
Yeah.
obviously, and I was living in, I don't need to tell you where I was living, but whatever.
Okay.
So basically, I was trying to think of a name. I was going back and forth, and I was just washing the dishes one day, classic, and it came to me. And I think for me, what it means is, that classic phrase, I have a soft spot for this or that. So I have a tender place in my heart for a particular thing, right? Which is very true of the environment we're trying to create.
Yes.
Also, a soft spotlight,
Okay.
if you will, on the stage.
Yeah.
And those are the two main meanings that I make of the word soft spot.
Okay.
It's a soft hang,
Yes,
it's like,
cool.
it's feminine.
Okay. Cool. All right. So now back to the merch.
Okay, yeah.
Back to the panties.
Yeah, go for it.
And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I feel like that is an idea that if most people have that idea, a lot of people are gonna like poo-poo the idea before they even do it. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people would say they would have that idea and then we go, nah, that's like crass or that's whatever. So were there any thoughts of that? Like, maybe we shouldn't or whatever. And if so, like what made you be like, fuck it, let's do it?
So for context, they're panties that they say a soft spot on them.
Yes.
Which, if you think about it, is not the best merch because nobody's ever going to see them except maybe the person you're fucking.
Right.
But no, listen, Chloe and I are just a couple of girls with a silly sense of humor. Like, we didn't put much thought into it. We just thought it was a fun idea.
Nice.
And then we went for it. It's really not that much more complicated than that.
All right.
We sell them at shows. We did it for the Valentine's Day show.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's not that deep.
All right.
Just a fun thing.
Yeah, no, it's cool. No, I think it's super cool because I've never seen anybody selling merch underwear.
Well, that's what I mean. It was kind of like, oh, nobody's doing this. Why don't we do it on the soft spot? Kind of like plays into that a little bit, you know. So
sure.
Yeah.
No, but I love that. I love that it's like I said, it's unique and it's like nobody's doing it, and it's like and it plays on the title and the theme, and so like I said, I feel like a lot of people would like not do it, and so like I thought it was cool.
Yeah, Chloe and I we're just silly and we like to have fun. So we're having fun at work, and that extends to our, outside of work hours. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, and I love that.
I'm wearing the panties right now.
Awesome. Rainee Blake, thank you so much.
That's what we're gonna finish.
That's
Okay.
a perfect place to go out, I think. Appreciate you joining me.
Thank you. This is so fun.
And definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And have a good one. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Broadway, the host. If you got something out of the episode, definitely go ahead and hit the like button. Also subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can get notified whenever we drop new episodes. If there was something specific that you learned or found interesting, put that in the comments. Also, if there was something that you thought you were going to learn more about, wanted to hear more about, and you didn't, put that in the comments as well. We can use that to make these episodes better going forward. Thank you again for checking out They're Good at That Shit.